Shalom, shalom, Israel. Please forgive us for the delay, but we are here and we are live. We're going to jump straight into it. We don't have a long class. Tonight's lesson, why is it important that I'm an Israelite? I think I got that. Why does it matter that I'm an Israelite? We're going to open up with Romans 3:1. As a disclaimer, obviously, this is not a quick and easy care package type of lesson and immediately explained or all at once. I mean, it would literally take hours, days. I'm not sure how far it would go. But, you know, brothers have been teaching the Bible for years, and there's still new points, new things to understand, new things to be brought to our attention, always being brought out, just to give you some insight to how thorough the Bible is. Romans chapter 3, we'll start at verse 1.
This is Romans chapter 3:1. What advantage then hath the Jew, or what profit is there of circumcision?
So he said, what's the advantage? What's the profit at the end of the day? Go ahead.
Much every way.
He said in every way. Go ahead.
Chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of the Most High.
He said in every way, but mostly because unto the Israelites, unto the righteous were committed the oracles of God, right? Let's stay in Romans. Jump over to chapter 9. No. You see me use this one a lot. Romans chapter 9. We're going to read 1 through 4.
This is Romans 9:1. I say the truth in Christ, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart.
Go ahead.
For I wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises.
Go ahead.
Whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came, who is over all, God blessed forever. Amen.
So he tells you, first and foremost, there's profit in every way, but mostly because we've been committed, or unto us has been committed the oracles of God. He says the adoption pertains to the Israelites. The glory pertains to the Israelites. The covenants, these contracts, these agreements. I say it all the time. Everybody thinks that everybody can get into heaven. That's a very simple but very pivotal understanding of the Bible. That not everybody is God's chosen. That not everyone is welcome even in the service of God. Not everyone's sacrifices will be accepted of God. Not all works from all people are even equal to God. Then, not everyone has right to the tree of life. And if you want to be technical, not even of the Israelites, everyone has right to the tree of life. But the first step in being welcomed into the kingdom of heaven itself, to be able to have access, is to be an Israelite. If you're not even an Israelite, you don't even have a chance at getting into the kingdom of heaven and being welcomed with the salvation that is spoken of in this Bible. If you're of another nation, the salvation that's spoken of is servitude, because this is their kingdom. This is their time to have their fun. I mean, and you got to admit, this can be very much so a enjoyable kingdom if you win it. If you're in a position to where your forefathers have set things up or profited off of slavery, you're a millionaire, billionaire at this point, this can feel like heaven for you. But this is as good as it gets. You still got sickness. You still got disease. You still have sin. You still have war. But he said, unto the Israelites is given all these things, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law itself. I see so many churches, I've said this so many times, a lot of times when I see these other nations trying to serve God, especially in Christianity, I'm like, man, what a waste. Because the Most High is not hearing that. He said, these are my people, the children of Israel. These are the ones that I want these things from. When he talks about singing a new song, he's not concerned what the Edomites do. He's not concerned what the Persians do, what the Medes do, what the Elamites, the Hamites, the Philistines, the Canaanites. There might be some talent in these other nations, but it's not going to be accepted of God. You don't see the Most High dealing with these other nations to the capacity that he deals with when he's talking about Israel. You don't see them even being given promises outside of, okay, if you're obedient, then I'll at least let you live in the kingdom to come. So when we're talking about why does it matter that we're an Israelite, like the scriptures say, in every way. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. One of the first things to understand is how the Most High even feels about the children of Israel. Because it's not just the same relationship that he has with everyone else. He literally says, and I'm going to actually let the scripture speak. Go ahead.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God had chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
Hold there. He said, you are a holy people. You're a set apart people unto the Lord. You know how everybody might have a title, right? You got family, for example. Everybody talks about their favorite cousin. You got a lot of cousins. You might have 20, 30 cousins, but you have that favorite. You might have a lot of friends, but you have a best friend. It's a lot of colors. You have a favorite colors. Look at how endless music is, but you have favorite songs. Everyone has something that is set apart unto them that's more desirous, more special, and treated differently than everything else that they have access to. The Most High feels that way about the children of Israel. Out of all the creations, he has a lot of creatures he's created, right? Plenty of nations, plenty of people. They're talking about billions on the earth right now as we speak. He said, but it's only these who actually matter. The rest of them, he said, they're irrelevant. I could care less about them. That's what thus saith the Lord. It's in the Bible. He said, but these people, they're a special people unto me. Go ahead.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
He says, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So first and foremost, knowing that you're an Israelite understands knowing that you're special to God himself. Knowing that the Most High, out of everything that he's created, he has his eyes set upon one nation, one people that he's created, right? A special people above all others to himself. Go to 1 Chronicles chapter 17, verse 22. On top of that, like he said in Romans 3, chiefly the oracles of God, the things that have been committed to us. Because it's not just saying, oh, we're supreme, we're the top dog and all this type of stuff. Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. Absolutely. But this is what the Most High has already laid out as a foundation. 17 and 22.
For thy people Israel didst thou make thine own people forever, and thou, Lord, becamest their God.
He said, thy people Israel, you made your own people forever. So first and foremost, what's that song? It feels so good to love somebody and know that somebody loves you back, to belong to somebody and that somebody belongs to you. The Most High is not just saying, these are my people. He said, I'm also your God. You're not just going to be my servants. I'm going to treat y'all differently. It come with perks. It come with a different level of access. There's only one true living God, the God of this Bible, Yahweh. He said, look, out of all the nations, this is the one that I desire. This is the one that I choose. This is the one that I'm going to deal with. And this is the one that I will be a God to. All these other nations, their prayers aren't, well, I'm not going to say they're never being answered, because there's a couple of times that he did deal with those of another nation. But you have to think about the very, very, very small percentage that he actually dealt with. You got a prayer here, a prayer there that actually gets answered. And a lot of that stuff I'm reading in Genesis before the birth of Israel himself, before the birth of Jacob. Past that point, when you actually see Israel being established, there's not a whole lot of dealing with the other nation when it's concerning the Most High. He's not really dealing with these other nations, and he tells you that. And he don't have no problem telling you they're like a drop from a vessel, or be like unto spittle, like spit. I always make the joke. When you ever been to a boxing match, somebody gets socked, they spit fly across the ring, and they're like, oh, hold on, I got to collect my spit. Wait a minute. I spit here yesterday. I came back because I need to retreat. No one values spit. But look how he's speaking about the children of Israel. He said, and thou, Lord, becamest their God. He said, I'm a God only unto these people. These are the only people that I'm interested in. These are the only people that I'm focused on. These are the only people that my covenants are made with. These are the only people that I'm a God to. When we're talking about Moses parting the Red Sea, he only did that for one nation. That's why you see the Israelites walked across peacefully and unharmed, and the Egyptians tried to do the same thing. He was like, nah, close it up, kill them all. I don't value, the Most High is saying he don't value their lives the same as ours. That's scripture. You see how he deals with our nation versus the other nations. You see that there's promises. Now you see a lot of judgment, because the same thing with any relationship. Anybody who's important to you, you hold them to a higher standard. There's a different expectation. There's no difference with the Most High God. He's definitely holding Israel to a higher standard. He's holding Israel to this law and to the promises that he makes, because it's twofold. It's a two-way street. He's going to be our God, but we have to offer obedience. We have to offer sacrifice, right? Let's go from there. Go to Mark chapter 2. So one of the things is the law, right? And not only are we talking about thou shalt not. We're going to read 2:15 through 17. But it's a very simple thing that Christ laid out. Go ahead.
This is Mark chapter 2 and verse 15. And it came to pass that as Jesus sat at meat in his house, many publicans and sinners sat also together with Jesus at his disciples. For there were many, and they followed him. And when the scribes and the Pharisees saw him eat with the publicans and sinners, they said unto his disciples, how is it that he eateth and drinketh with publicans and sinners?
So, mind you, right, when Christ walked the earth, it was so many different things that he did. He lived an example as to how to be righteous and serve the Most High. He lived as an example of sacrifice, giving every moment that he could into building up the nation and to building future leaders of the nation. And he physically gave his life. One of the things that he did when he walked the earth was also healing, right? Because our people, we're a more spiritually inclined people. And that has its pros and its cons. Now, if we lived righteously and we did everything by the book, literally, it wouldn't be no cons. Not like this. Because we wouldn't have these spirits, we wouldn't have these plagues, we wouldn't have these diseases, we wouldn't see these instances. But this was a time that there was a lot of Israel that didn't know they were Israel, like what we see today, right? There were a lot of people who were plagued by spirits. There were a lot of people who got sicknesses. There were a lot of people who had illnesses. There were a lot of people who went mad through the oppression they were facing, right? So when Christ walked the earth, he wasn't going to the elite and the elect and the super special in man's eyes. He was going to who was special in the Father's eyes. First and foremost, the children of Israel, but he went to the sinners and the publicans, those that were rejects and outcasts. But he said something specific about why he was sitting with them. Go ahead.
Verse 17, when Jesus heard it, he saith unto them, they that are whole have no need of the physician, but they that are sick, I came not to call the righteous, but the sinners to repentance.
Why would he use that analogy of sick and healthy? He's sitting with publicans and sinners. They're like, why are you over there? Shouldn't you be the righteous? Shouldn't you be coming to hang out with the Pharisees and the Sadducees? He said, look, they that are whole, if you have the law and you've been able to abide by this your whole life, you don't really have a need for a physician. What healing do you need if you already have this in your possession? You already have the remedy, whether you choose to use it or not. You know, you can lead, what's that saying? You can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink. People get prescribed medication, whether it's through a physician, an apothecary, an herbologist, botanical methods, whatever the case may be. You can give somebody a method, but it's up to them to use it. So he's saying, look, y'all already have the Bible. You already have the law. You already have these scripts. But they're in need. They need to be what? Healed. That's one of the main things. When we come out of all these various different walks of life, people then got addicted to drugs trying to survive in Babylon. Because everybody starts off, you know, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed as a child. And then you quickly are taught that being so open, so caring, so not suspecting is naive. And you very quickly see how many times you get betrayed, how many times you get deceived, how many times you get taken advantage of. Then we kind of have to don, you know, dark images and cloaks and trench coats. You got to kind of look a certain way to survive in Babylon. You have to take on a certain demeanor because you don't want to present yourself as someone that's easy to take advantage of. Or guess what? It's like blood in the water out here. It's dog eat dog, and it's a terrible world we live in. Everybody trying to get over on everybody. Women trying to deceive the men they're in relationships with, abusive men, leaving their husbands and their wives and their children, not wanting to be husbands. It's a whole lot of sicknesses and illness, mental illness. So when Christ was here on earth, he was coming to heal through this word. I would say that's one of the number one selling points with actually coming into the commandments is you start to be able to be healed from everything that you've experienced in this world. You done got addicted to drugs. You done unspeakable things for them drugs. Got addicted to drink, done unspeakable things to feed the addiction, whether you was running the streets or whether you was living in them. But now is your chance to be healed. That's why he uses this analogy of the sick and the physician. He said, I'm calling the sinners to repentance. Let's go to Psalms chapter 119. Here's another thing. Everybody wants to read verse 9. Talk about that fresh start.
This is Psalms 119 and verse 9.
Go ahead.
Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way?
Uh-huh.
By taking heed thereto according to thy word.
He said, how does a young man or a woman cleanse their way? By taking heed to this word. You know how many people go through these drastic changes? They feel like they want to be a new version of themselves. They want to evolve. They start diets, which is nothing wrong with it. There's a benefit to it. The scriptures tell you. Cut your hair, grow your hair, get a tattoo, make some big major life change. Oh, big one. Move to a new city, new you, right? Nobody knows your name. You have an opportunity to redefine yourself. But guess what? The scriptures tell you, you really want a fresh start? This is how you get it. Taking heed to the commandments. It doesn't matter how many cities you go to. If you take them same crooked ways with you, you're going to get the same crooked results. If you was a thief in LA, then you moved to Houston and you a thief, then you moved to New York and you a thief, then you moved to Utah and you a thief, it don't matter where you go. You're going to always be a thief until you choose to change something inside. That's the part that you can't get away from. You can change your environment plenty of times. You can cut and grow hair. You can get a full body tattoo. You can make all these body modifications. But if you haven't changed who you are, you're still that same old man. He said, you want a fresh start? Cleanse your ways, keep the commandments. Deuteronomy 6 and 25. We're just talking about some of the benefits of the law itself.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 25.
Go ahead.
And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us.
People talk about the value of righteousness. And it's crazy because even in the world, in Christianity, Catholicism, any religion, understanding, or belief that has this Bible, the center should be righteousness. Even with the Muslims and the Quran and whatever, it's always about a holistic lifestyle, right? It's always about being set apart and being in a higher form of being. That's pretty much the foundation of every religion and every understanding. Right? But the reality of actually being righteous, of being accepted of God, of living holistically, of being set apart, and better yet, set above, is by keeping the commandments. That's what he says is actual righteousness. That's where he said there's an actual benefit. Let's go from there to John chapter 14. John chapter 14, and we're going to read verse 21.
This is John chapter 14 and verse 21.
Go ahead.
He that hath my commandments and keepeth them, he it is that loveth me.
Go ahead.
And he that loveth me shall be loved for my Father, and I will love him and will manifest myself to him.
Man, it's crazy. So one song, I don't do a whole lot of gospel in the world because as I listen to it, even though I know that they saying the right things, knowing that they don't have understanding, it just kind of bothers me because they don't have the same effect. Right. But one song I ain't gonna even lie, I low-key always love is that Mary, Mary, Heaven. I want to go. Man, look, everybody talking about wanting to make it into the kingdom. Not only be righteous, but to seek the love of Christ and to love Christ. Everybody, anybody who believes in the Bible even remotely believes in Christ, right? And anyone who believes in Christ not only understands or claims to understand his sacrifice, but wants to make one of their own. I love Jesus, Jesus loves me, but he gives you clarity. You have to keep his commandments. He said, that's how you get loved of my Father, which is the Most High God himself. He said, and that's how I'll love you. You'll have the love of the Father himself and the Son by keeping the commandments. So all these people that's in these different religions, that's living on a whim, however it is, every day is a different story, every day is a different tale to tell, a different standard that they live by based on what's convenient. He said, look, he's not dealing with that. That's not what's special. That's not what's going to gain his love. But if you know you're an Israelite and you keeping these commandments, that's how you gain the love of God himself. Let's go over to Leviticus chapter 11. One of the things that I feel like is underrated is you get to do life right. Right? So we're going to read Leviticus 11. Let's just read verse 1.
This is Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth.
Okay. So he said, these are the beasts which ye shall eat. One of the very simple things, how many ailments, illnesses, diseases come from a poor diet? And now it's difficult nowadays, right? There's sugar in everything. Everything's processed. Everything's pumped full of MSG. If you're not living a real strict diet, you really probably aren't doing that well. But one of the things that you for sure can avoid, not only the things that the Most High God himself says are unclean, but you have an opportunity to live and eat righteously. That's just on a simple note. That's something simple. But look at how many people a year get trichinosis. Worms in the body, in the blood, in the skin. Look how many people have high blood pressure. Look how many people have all these different ailments simply because in the world they pushing pork as the next white meat. But the Most High God tells you it's an abomination. You learn how to actually live with the law. People talk about what's there to get out of this Bible from your everyday life. First and foremost, think about how many times a day you eat. You checking ingredients, you know what's all in your food? Do you know what's actually good for you and what's not? There's been a manual given to you by the Creator himself saying, look, these are the things that you should have and these are the things that you shouldn't. Let's go from there. Go to Ecclesiasticus. The book of Sirach, chapter 6 and verse 7. Even if we not just get into because that's what a lot of people believe the Bible is. Thou shalt not. And so when you come with the Bible, that's what they expected. Oh, you about to preach to me. You about to give me a whole bunch of thou shalts and thou shalt not. I know thou shalt not this, and thou shalt. I get it. But no, there's a whole lot more than this Bible. You know, there's financial advice in this Bible, life advice in this Bible. You know how many different relationships this Bible touches on? Let's read 6 and 7, Sirach.
If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him.
Now, in the world, you get taught that for every reason somebody's a friend. Oh, your favorite color is orange? Mine too. We friends. Your birthday on the 26th? Mine too. We friends. You like that show? Whole time, you don't know who this person is. You don't know anything about them, but they are conditioned to immediately believe that everybody is your friend. And people are so shocked and astounded when they discover how much treachery there is on this earth. But how easily do you accept what people are telling you as opposed to what they're showing you?
Come on.
How easily are you to drop your guard and let somebody into the intricate portions of your life? He said, if you're going to get a friend, prove them. Don't just call everybody your friend. Don't just let everybody sit at your table. Don't just give everybody the same level of access. That's a piece of life advice that look how many things could be avoided if we simply practice. But we would only even get this far if we knew we was Israel. Before this, I ain't never heard of the Apocrypha before understanding that I was an Israelite. Never heard that there were books taken out of the Bible. And never knew that there was this much life advice. Like I said, I'll admit I was one of the people that thought it was thou shalt and thou shalt not. I'm thinking that the whole Bible, and then it's a couple of examples of people who did and people who didn't. You know, I heard about King Solomon as a child and maybe some King David, a little bit of Moses. But to really have life advice as to how I should live, I didn't know. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 11. Here's another huge one. While we sit up here and watch, we are literally watching the de-evolution of a man, of a family, of a child. We're watching the de-evolution of the mind. all these, first and foremost, homosexuality and fornication itself is rampant in the earth, especially in this land called Babylon. Confusion. It's rampant. And it's shocking to see how many it is homosexuals. Matter of fact, this is so-called Pride Month. This is the month universally, everyone in America, 300 plus million people are taught to acknowledge homosexuality, fornication, and what America and all the rest of the world, any first world countries have always recognized as mental illnesses. Statistically speaking, homosexuals usually have had a negative sexual childhood experience, sexual traumatic experience in their childhood that confuses them and makes them end up having an inordinate affection. This is a statistic that you can look up. This isn't something that I just want to say because it aligns with what my beliefs are. This is something that you can look up and prove. I'm talking about reputable institutions, reputable universities that have been studying homosexuality for tens, if not hundreds of years, will tell you up until recently, I'm talking 1990s, within the past 30 years, homosexuality was considered a mental illness. But on top of that, you have all these men, because that's so prevalent, you have all these men that don't even want to be men anymore or claim to be men. And then you have it like, it's crazy, especially with this whole social media era. You have these big old muscular, tatted up dudes, and they doing the switch challenge. They sitting up here, you got the woman in her dress, and the dude in his masculine clothing, and then they switch. Now he in a little tiny dress and some heels. It's so funny when he turn around and he twerk. Oh, you look at the comments and no one's outraged. Everyone thinks it's hilarious. Everyone thinks it's the funniest thing ever. And that seems to be the only thing that you can be able to do to find some success, is challenge gender norms, challenge what has always been acceptable to where the wickedness is becoming what's acceptable. The modern day woman and her opinions. This is how I think you should do this. This is how I think you should do that. If he don't come with if he not 6 feet, 6 figures, and something else, you know what I'm talking about, I'm not interested. And you have all these women that's, yes, queen, if he won't do it, the next woman will. Or excuse me, the next man will. If he wanted to, he would. All that type of stuff. But you know what's crazy? The Bible tells you how a righteous marriage should go. And it's really very simple. And it goes into all these intricate parts, not just what we're about to cover right now in this instance. It goes over the day-to-day life, as far as a man not being a lion in his house. It goes over that a man should love his wife as his own flesh. You're not supposed to neglect and abuse, because you don't want to be neglected and abused. How to speak to each other, it goes into all these different elements. But one very simple thing that it narrows down is this. Let's start at 1 Corinthians 11:3. We're going to read 3 and 4.
But I will have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is the man, and the head of Christ is the Most High.
Matter of fact, all I want is 3. That right there, verse 3 in 1 Corinthians 11. How many marriages, if they chose to obey the scriptures, would this help and heal and fix?
All of them.
All. Simply because the Creator himself and his son, our King, has already laid out the structure of the household. It's not a guessing game. It's not about who makes more. It's not about, preference. And, I just feel like he already said, the head of every man is Christ. So even men have someone that we have to be obedient and answer to. However, he's not physically on earth with us the same way a husband is with his wife most of the time, physically. But he does tell you, but the head of the woman is the man. You know how many marriages it is that have fallen apart because they just couldn't see eye to eye? You know how many times I've seen that? And how many stories I've been told? Well, I was trying to, but she, and I wanted for the house to be like that. I've heard these stories from my own father. But your mama. I'm like, hey, Dad. Man, look, I'm getting older. I don't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear it when I was young. But the reality is, if this was being implemented and practiced, look, nobody's saying that I don't care at all. You might even have some wisdom. And if you have a man with some understanding, he's going to choose you according to what you can bring and the value that you're going to contribute to his household and his legacy. No doubt you have some wisdom. But that does not triumph everything that your husband says. That does not triumph the scriptures. That does not triumph the law. And if you were a man of little understanding, oof.
It's interesting, right? Because when you talk about marriages, right, people like to describe a marriage as like a team, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea put forth is like we're teammates. But what team doesn't have a coach? What successful team doesn't have a coach?
I'll take it one further. In football, for example, right? And that's one of the probably 3 most popular sports our people play. Everybody has a role.
Right.
Everybody, but there's only one quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And the quarterback, most of the time, because if you want to, I think the coach is a little closer to Christ. That's laid out the foundation, that's invested and built, that's already set things up, that's already walked it himself. And he's like, look, God, this is what I can tell you for a fact, having the experience and the understanding. But a lot of times, the quarterback's the one with the plays on his arm, telling the team, this is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do. And he manages the team to a certain extent.
A good
now
one. A good one, go ahead.
Now he comes to the side and he got to, sometimes confer with the coach to make sure everything's cool, to make sure he's aligning with the goal. But ultimately, he still sits up. And guess what? Somebody else don't play their role. It's only one quarterback. It might be multiple, 2, 3, 4 different, different positions out there on the field that kind of have similar or the same roles, but only one quarterback. And guess who's most likely to get that MVP trophy at the end of the year? It's that quarterback. But it's a contribution of the whole team. So stop saying what you do when I think it don't matter. Well, don't with that mentality. And better yet, it's not. Because I don't want to sit up here and deny your idea and then you follow it up with a speech. It's simple. Better yet, what successful anything do you know that everybody's equal? Name one successful business that has equal portions spread across everybody. Most companies will at least have enough wisdom to where they're not going to share too many of their, they're not going to sell too many of their shares to where any one individual ends up having more power and more control. Because then guess what? They end up running the company. And they can destroy the company. They might give away 51% of their shares, or they might even spread it out real thin. But they're never going to give up more power at home than what's out there. They need to someone has to be in charge. Someone has to maintain the authority. The Most High God said for the household, that someone is the man. That someone is the husband.
Someone has to be held accountable.
Someone has to be held accountable. Everyone, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Everybody loves to say that because it's so cool and so catchy, but let you have some responsibility. Yeah. Let you have a whole lot of things that's on your plate. Let you have a whole lot of decisions that need to constantly be made. And as soon as you're done putting out one fire, it's another one already blazing. It's already at its maximum. It's no time to stop. You got to go. And then you might not even have a whole lot of things. You know how many, the father is the unsung hero of the household. Everybody talk about a mother, especially now in this day and age. I'm not saying she's not doing things. The Bible even acknowledges Rachel and Leah, but it's through their righteousness. Not through their opinions, not through their boss bee mentality, not through their education of the top colleges of Rome no, it's through their contributions to their household and their submission to their husband. That's where their power came from, and that's where their righteousness came from. That's the legacy that they built. When a man is successful, and you decades down the line and everyone gets to sit up here and see grandma and grandpa and they say, wow, it's 40, 50 people sitting around one couple, that's when you really have your honor. Because look at what you helped build and contribute. That's the honor. Go to Isaiah chapter 34. And it's a whole lot of things that are spoken of in marriage. It's a whole lot of things that it tells you to do. And it's a lot of advice even to a man. It's not like the Most High is like, they just instinctively. No, there's some things that men have to correct. Some things we have to work on and make sure that we keep in check. We're going to read 34 and verse 16.
This is Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 16.
Here's another important thing that we have. Understanding that we're Israelites, understanding that this word, this Bible has been written for us, been given to us. Go ahead.
Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate, for my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them.
It's very simple. He said, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, no one of these shall fail. One of the main things that we always use as defenders of the gospel to be able to back up the Bible is prophecy. Because there is no other book. There's even been a couple of, acclaimed prophets and things like that. Notre Damus. He predicted this. He predicted this big earthquake. He predicted the end of the world. You know how many of his predictions been off? And ain't been accurate? But when I was coming up, they was like, man, it was like he was like a God himself. He said, but when you read this Bible, none of these have failed. Not one. It isn't a here and there kind of thing with the accuracy. It isn't a sometimes it's on point. It's a every single time. Every single one of these prophecies has happened exactly the way that the Most High God said it would. Exactly the way it's been written in the Bible. He said, first and foremost, no one of these shall fail. You know how much clarity you're given because most people live their life with uncertainty? You know how much certainty the Bible gives you? You already understand what's ahead of you. He said, look, if you come to serve the Lord, prepare your soul for temptation. Prepare yourself. You already know. He already laid out so many different things for you and gave to us to be able to understand the walk that we're in, the God that we serve, and the King that we have. You know how many people are, man, I'm just trying to figure it all out. I don't understand this. I don't understand that. Nothing makes sense. And I'm like, look, sometimes you just got to take solace in the fact that you're not going to know it all. But the reality is, it's already been explained. This is what's going to happen. In the last days, these things will occur. So don't be surprised when it happens. Don't be taken back when it happens. And better yet, not only can you expect it, you can prepare. You know how many, not only just scholars, but it's like the world has been knowing for decades that there is this grand finale battle and tension and all this type of stuff that's going to unfold as time goes on. And the crazy part about it is these other nations, especially Esau, they've been ahead of the game because they already studied this Bible. Man, you be coming across like everyday Edomites that have like theology degree levels of understanding of the Bible. And I'm not talking about the understanding of the actual scriptures itself. I'm talking about understanding as far as knowing the stories and being able to recollect them. I've been mind blown a couple of times. We at the beach. This is when I was younger. We building a sandcastle. Everybody joining in. We having a great time. Here come an Edomite. Better have that chauffeur handy. I said, what? He's like, that chauffeur. Better have that chauffeur. I still didn't understand what he was saying. We had built just one wall. He said, the walls of Jericho. I was like, damn. It was an instant thing for him, the relatability. But that just shows me he'd been reading and understanding. So guess what? That's why you see this nation in particular preparing for disaster. All these billionaires that's building bunkers. All these peoples that see, because they already read the Bible. Oh, hold on, it's going to be war, it's going to be famine, it's going to be pestilence. The end is not yet, but it's coming up. They like, it's time. We done seen all these viruses through the years, all these pandemics, all these emergencies. We see the war that's picking up in the Middle East, and you can read in the Bible where he says, as lightning strikes from the east to the west, and all these plagues and all these things are happening from east to west. So when the war is engulfing the east, where do you think it's going to head next? But you have a whole lot of time to be able to kind of, get ahead of the curve when you have understanding of the scriptures. You have time to be able to gather things, and better yet, you even have understanding, because there's a whole lot of instances you first and foremost don't see our people went to war with nothing. They always went to war with weapons. They were always trained. We were a warrior society. That's something to be prepared for or to be able to get yourself into. You see our forefathers went out there and were trained with swords. Guess what? What should we be doing? You see that he talks about in Egypt how Joseph had stored up 7 years of plenty for the 7 years of famine. Guess what? There's food preservation in the Bible. It's already laid out. So now that we're coming into the understanding of these scriptures, we already know where our mind should be. We're towards the latter end. We weren't born in one of those times where we were in Jerusalem and knew and got to sing and saw Israel. Well, if we were, we don't remember. We're alive here and now. And we see what the scriptures say about this land and this time. And it's a whole lot of people that always say, it's like, man, it's just so tough, but it's going to get better. I don't mean to be the party pooper a lot of times, and I'll be like, no, it's not. Because the Bible don't say it's going to get better. It says that there's going to be goods sold real cheap upon the earth for a time. All nations are going to partake of the wine of the wrath of her fornication because they partook of her sins. He also gives you warning ahead of time saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partaker of her sins. We can avoid a whole lot of trouble just by sticking to the scriptures. And by better yet, having understanding of the scriptures. But we only would even have this level of seeking and this level of understanding by understanding that this is our book. This is speaking of our people. You know how much pride that should come with? Every superhero, for the most part, is white. You got their gods being promoted. You got their stories being promoted. You got their battles and their victories being promoted. How long has it been since Greece has existed? But you got these movies like 300. You got these movies about the Nordics and the Vikings and the Celtics and the Druids and these ancient white warriors. And then when these little kids dress up and they kind of put on this little warrior, this little armor, this armor stuff, they have a certain sense of pride about their people. And without knowing you're an Israelite, you sit up here reading these stories, not even knowing that you should be able, or better yet, you have the most right to take pride in your people. We talking about Moses splitting the Red Sea. That was a so-called black man, a dark-skinned man, a melanated man of our people. We talking about the sun being stopped, a man of our people. We talking about the Son of the Most High God himself, a man of our people. We're made in his image. We're made with perks and advantages, even scientifically proven. We're made with all these different things to our favor, given understanding, given favor and actual benefits by God himself, and we're given a blueprint. He said, what's the profit in being a Jew? Much in every way. And he said, none shall want her mate. You don't have to sit up here and look in any other book to try to figure out what's going to happen. You don't have to be mind blown when waters turn to blood. It's already written. You don't have to be mind blown when there's an enemy of your household or of your nation. It's already written. You don't have to be taken off guard and thrown for a loop, just totally fazed by everything that you're encountering, because he told you it's already going to happen. He even said, if the world hates you, don't be so astonished by this. It hated me first. Now it's different going through it. I'm not going to discount the experience. It's like watching a movie. You can watch a movie about World War II. That's another big one that they like to put out there. And D-Day. Everybody want to. Yeah, it's cool. It's crazy. You see watching Saving Private Ryan, and you see all the stuff that's happening, and you see shell shock, and you see people getting limbs removed with force. You seeing people get lit up. Yeah, it's incredible to be able to see that story, but it's different when you was living it. So there's still a connection to be made between what we read and what we actually are going to or have experienced, but you already know what lays ahead. And you got hope. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5. Not only are all these things set before us, but time and time and time again, he gives you hope. He says, look, if you come to serve the Lord, prepare your soul for temptation. But guess what? Did your life just start getting hard once you came into these commandments? I can say for a fact it didn't for me. I was going through hell as a child and a teenager. Broken home, horrible arguments, waking up in the middle of the night, police getting called to the house, absent father, all that. That was already before I ever had an inkling to understand I was an Israelite. Growing up in dangerous neighborhoods, shootings up the street, gang banging and all that type of stuff all around me, gang members in my family, going to school in the hood. I'm talking about we pulling. I remember me and my mom laughed. She said, "Damn, I'm taking you to the war zone. I'm pulling up to school. School surrounded by police. Helicopters flying over." They was like, I was like, "Damn, what happened?" They was like, "They found a dead body like right next to the school." I'm like, "Damn, man, this is why I'm going to school." Hey, I gotta go in here and focus. You want me to focus on a math test after that type of news? The hell didn't start when you came into this truth. But because now you're serving the Most High God, you have hope in everything that you do now. A lot of people, that's what they don't have. That's what allows you to turn savage, is an absence of hope. For example, I love me a good psychological study. Love them, especially the ones that get straight to the meat. This is actually a pretty popular one. It's circulated on social media. They took, and it was a story about the resilience of hope. And a lot of times, in this instance, they'd actually use rats. They used one rat. I remember, who was that? You and somebody else was laughing, like, "Man, look at this. When this brother feeling good, he started talking about rats a lot." That's why I looked over at you, because it's funny, because this one had to do with rats. They put it in water, and they let it struggle. And it would let itself go, I think, after like 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Like it was like, "Man, I'm gonna die here," and they would just let themselves sink. They took it out. Right? They warmed it back up. I think they even fed it or whatever, and they put it back in the water. You know how much longer it lasted? It went from 5 minutes to 60 hours of struggle. When it thought it had no hope, it would give up and let itself sink after 2 minutes, 5 minutes. But when it had hope, it fought for 60 hours straight, keeping its head above water. That's a rat. How much more intelligent are we than a rat? How much more capable are we? How much more important to the Most High are we? Chosen and elect, apex predators. That hope means, man, it means everything. So many people give up. Where was God when I was going through this? Where was God when I was... And they give up, and they allow themselves to turn cold. They allow themselves to become corrupt. They sit up there and they try to live a wholesome life for however many years they feel like they got in them. And then when they keep getting done wrong and keep seeing devastating outcomes and effects, they be like, "Man, whatever. Everybody else robbing and stealing, I'm finna go rob and steal. Everybody else selling drugs in this hood, I'm gonna go sell some drugs. I'm tired of being hungry. I'm tired of struggling. Everybody else doing it. You see these females, they like, man, she got cheated on, she got this, she got hands put up. Man, you see all these relationships failing with a total absence of God, so you see everybody else going through it. You give it a chance, you get your heart broken a couple times, and guess what? You're not being loyal no more. I don't give a about a nigga. I don't trust a nigga. I'm doing this with a nigga. I ain't going 50-50 with a nigga. Guess what? You allow yourself to become your lowest self. Because you don't have hope in actually trying to do something right. You don't have hope in being a bigger or better person. Because it's like, and let's be real, without the scriptures, you're like, what's the point? Why? Why do I got to be the bigger person when that means getting done wrong? Why I got to be the bigger person when that means that everybody's trying to knock the crown off my head? Why I got to be the bigger person when I don't feel like I see a reward for it? Sirach, what I have you get? Oh, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5, start at verse 1.
It's Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 and verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors.
He said, look, it's just because we have the Bible, whether you have the Bible or not, it's a whole lot of people that don't believe. I see all these rappers, actors, athletes that always talk about, nobody believed in me except for maybe this one person. And, I had to get myself up. I had to do this. I had to do that. But I never gave up hope. It's a whole lot of people that's not cared about. It's a whole lot of people that's not seen. But we're specifically going through this struggle because we're doing it for Christ. And because we're doing it for the Most High God and for the service of our King, he said, look, I'm going to give you a reward. All these other people, if they don't make it, they don't have a reward. They don't make it to the league, to the NBA, to the whatever. They don't have nothing to show for all them labors. He said, but you may not have made your millions. You may not have been somebody whose name was so significant and moved the masses. You may not have been somebody when you walked into a room, everybody was screaming, excited to see you. Matter of fact, you're going to be rejected. You're going to be ridiculed. You're going to even be afflicted. And many times over, you're going to be mocked. But he said, you want to know what your reward is? You're going to stand up in great boldness before those that afflicted you. And he said, and made no account of your labors. Not only did they sit up here and put you through it, they acted like what you was doing wasn't significant. People act like they got forever to figure out their salvation. People act like realistically, we're going to be on the other side in that next life longer than we've ever been here. No matter how many times you've been regenerated, your spirit will live so much longer in the kingdom that is to come, or in the torment that is to come, than it has ever been here on earth. And everybody acting like salvation is nothing. Acting like what we do is nothing, like it's not significant, it's not even important. He said, you'll be able to stand up in great boldness before those specifically who afflicted you and took no account of your labors, who acted like we was wasting your life. They're going to be able to see you rise, to see you shine, to see you stand at the right hand of Christ and be welcomed into the kingdom of heaven. Go ahead.
Verse 2, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for.
He says, so far beyond all that they looked for. What are these people? What are people in the world looking for? You want to be rich, you want to be famous, and let's keep it real. You ain't got no real money. Now, there's no Israelite. Whether you an actor, you an entertainer, they got a couple of them. You got Wayne, you got Jay-Z, you got Diddy. Look how he coming. Look how he's being exposed. Look how he's coming along. It's going bad. Even with all that money, with all those riches, look at his life unfolding, and he's not no old man. He didn't make it to 90 to where if he get thrown in jail, it's like, man, I'm about to die anyway. I don't care. 99 years old, barely can get up, barely can talk. No, he's very much so still a young man. Life being torn apart. And that's what the world is telling you should be shooting for. To be rich, to be famous. But guess what? They all still wicked. Steve Jobs his story blew my mind, because everybody, we all have perspectives of what money can really do. People still talk about, Magic Johnson, and he got to cure the AIDS. They think we can cure, humans have cured every disease. But look at Steve Jobs. He was one of the richest men in the world at the time of his death. Billions. It couldn't save him. Couldn't do nothing for him. He said so much more than what they looked for. They talking about getting a bag, being a boss, want to drive some foreign cars. You know how boring that's going to get? Every day you get in your Lamborghini. That sounds cliche, and it sounds even worse because I ain't got no Lamborghini. I got a regular car outside. But you realize, how long can you really have that fun?
It's the law of diminishing returns.
It's diminishing returns, exactly. Your Lambo gonna get old, the service prices is crazy, and even if you maintain that money, it don't save you from getting old.
And you see this, you don't have to have a Lamborghini to understand this. You see this in everything that you get. When you're excited for it, it's brand new and shiny. You pull it out the box, like that new phone, right? You pull it out the box, you're excited to turn it on and to get it set up and to get playing with it. A week later, you feel the same way about this phone you felt about your last phone.
And you know what's crazy? That's an experience that most people get, and that's a goal that ain't like the world not put. But when they push them riches, and they pushing all these different things that we're supposed to get, and then you start getting old, and you get a bad hip, and then you like, damn, I don't want this low fast car.
Right.
I don't want 50 different women every week. I kind of just want one that's going to cherish me and really respect me, and that's going to have all these qualities that's spoken of in the Bible. Right. For you to look for and compare and contrast to. You want peace.
And look at how much of your life you had to live and how much you had to go through just to get that realization.
And you probably got, at best, 30, maybe 40 years. At best.
Man.
I'm talking about if you get crazy rich, or let's just say you inherit a trust, you get $1 billion trust at 20 years old, and all the way from 20 to 60, you live in life. You traveling, you going places, you experiencing things. You had all the women, all the men you want, all the drinks you want, all the drugs you want. You never go through nothing that cuts your life short. And then what? Then you start getting old and start getting slow. You start decreasing and start to literally die. And you done already had your fun. Now, while them 40 years was going, oh man, it felt like it was never going to end. But once you start to go through things that are out of your control, it starts to humble you. No matter how much money you got, it matters. You're incontinent. You can't control when you go to the bathroom. Billionaire.
Right.
Doodling on yourself. No hope of salvation, no hope of living again. That's all your years is up. That's it. Ain't no hope. That's all you was gonna get.
YOLO.
And we ain't even gonna live just once. He said, how much is it so far beyond all they looks for? No matter what you're talking about, I don't care what the goal is. I don't care how good it feels. If it's not with righteousness, it's not important. And it's not worth it. It's not going to be worth it in the grand scheme of salvation. Even if you had your 40 years, that's it. And most people is not living them great 40 years. You working until you 60. You working until, let's just say you retire at 35. You still worked a long time, shaved years off your life. Might have missed the birth of your child. Might have been grinding and all these things, missed all these moments you can never get back. He said, when you get salvation, you ain't going to have to worry about working. You ain't going to have to worry about sickness or sorrow. You ain't going to have to worry about missing your child. You don't even have to worry about harm coming to your child because they'll be an immortal too. Drop down to verse 5.
This is wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5 and verse 5. How was he numbered among the children of God, and his lot is among the saints?
That is the hope. For people to be mind blown, I ain't gonna lie. There's a couple of people I hope to see. If I make it, and I'm able to, you know what I'm saying, I'm able to do the walk up or however it happened where I'm welcome before Christ. There's a couple of people I want to be able to look into the audience. I ain't gonna, humbly. There's a couple of people I want to make some eye contact with. Yeah, remember what you was, yeah. I was a fool. I was a bum. That nigga ain't, oh yeah, remember all that you was, yeah, hey, look at me now. Don't tell me you ain't thought about it.
Now look at me now.
Hey, if I'm able to stand up there with Christ and I'm able to stand with the elite and the elect and I'm able to say that my lot is with the saints, yes, look at me now. I'm going to be shamelessly celebrating hard. I ain't even going to call nobody out. I'm going to just celebrate. You know, that kill people worse. You sit up here and flex on somebody, they be like, all right, whatever. But it's almost like they can bear it. It's like when you don't give somebody that acknowledgement, it's worse.
That's exactly it.
I just want to do.
You don't even look back.
Yeah, I just want them to. Matter of fact, I may not even want to make eye contact. I just want them to see me. Look at me now. That's the hope that we have. Go to Revelation chapter 3 and verse 21. Look, you can call me whatever you want to call me. You walk this walk. You know you're gonna have them feelings and them thoughts. You know you're gonna have that desire. Because it's not just about, it is about making it first and foremost, but then it's like, dang, look how you get treated when you're trying to live right, when you're trying to do good. How people scoff and laugh like, oh man, you know, I'm headed to my church. I'm about to, you in that church. You in that religion. You know, whatever it is that's getting said. You're like, damn, man, I'm sitting up here trying to live my life for Christ and thought it. I ain't saying you got to kiss my feet or nothing crazy, but man, I at least thought you would respect what I'm doing with myself.
People will respect all kinds of wickedness that you want to do, but as soon as you want to move in righteousness, that's the worst thing you could do.
It's crazy.
It's wild. It's Revelations 3 and 21.
Come on.
To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne.
You know how good it feels? Because first and foremost, you know how hard it is for you to be talking about, like, man, this is something special. You already know how our people think. You ain't rich, you ain't balling. We talk about dietary law. They like, you ain't buff.
Right.
You ain't got this incredible physique that make people want to. You talk about living holy, but you broke. You ain't got something that make people want to. He said, but if you can overcome, you know how good it feels after all that sacrifice, after all that ridicule, after all that talk, and you sitting at the right hand of Christ, being prepared to inherit a kingdom as a fellow heir while everyone else is just preparing for torture and torment. And they just meditate. They just watching. All they can do is watch all this happen and meditate on their lives and be like, man, I just wish I would have. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Thinking about all the things that they wish could have went a little different in their life. I don't care how tough you are now in this life. I know that's going to do something to your mental. People bold in the face of death, bold in the face of danger. You could be, but man, when you realize that that's going to be eternal, I don't see how you could still have no type of courage. Scriptures tell you it's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth. There's hope in being one of those that's welcomed in the kingdom of God. You ain't even got to worry about nothing. Nothing? You ain't got to worry about nothing. Stay in Revelation. Let's go to 21. We almost done. Not done with what we could be going over, but done with what's been set apart tonight. 21, let's read verse 3 to 5.
So Revelation 21 and verse 3. And I hear a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them and be their God.
Imagine that. So you know how big celebrity culture is right now, right? Everybody like, man, if you so much has been in a room with like well, maybe not Drake anymore, his career going down. Kendrick didn't finish them off. And people are so fascinated. But let's just say at the highlight of whoever it is that you want to be or wanted it to be, whoever it is that you feel like is super special, imagine you was in a room with that person. Doors is closing. People just peeking through the doors. It closes like, damn, what they got going on? What type of conversation? What type of experience? What type of drink? Man, it's about to be crazy. It's about to be beautiful. It said, you know, people be like, man, I remember this one time, bro. I seen Drake. I seen Kendrick. People are flattered just to be able to see these celebrities. Imagine being able to dwell with the Most High God himself. Even if you don't care about a celebrity a whole bunch, which is usually not the case, you end up in a section and you see the things that they got going. Like, man, the quality of women, the quality of life that you live is so much different than what I ever even considered was possible. You see them perks and you're like, dude, this is incredible. Imagine what God has prepared. And he's made all those women to be desired, made all the gold that people do all these things to obtain, made the earth itself and all the worlds that are. Imagine what he's prepared for the righteous. He even tells you it has not entered into the heart of man to be able to understand the things that have been set up since the beginning of time, since the foundation. You know how you love somebody and all you want to do is you're like, man, what else do they like? Got a birthday coming up, some special occasion, and you just can't wait to do something good for them. That's how the Most High is thinking upon his elect and the fellow heirs that will inherit the kingdom with his son, Yahushua. He already know, oh man, I know he gonna love this. She gonna love this when you come in and man. Those things are being prepared right now for the righteous. Go ahead.
And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death.
Hold on. He said God is going to wipe all the tears from their eyes. You ever done something that was so hard you just break down and crying even with your success? Man, oh my goodness, whether you got to run a marathon and you like, I don't think I can make, because all these things going to come to your mind. Ain't nobody is, it's going to come to you at one point or another. Now, if you cross the threshold and you can just perform over and over and over, congratulations, sincerely. Because that's a really impressive and really difficult thing to do. But there's always a higher goal. You ran a mile today, guess what? It's 2 miles waiting for you. You ran 5, it's always 10. But this is the end goal of all goals. This is the last goal that ever needs to be met. This is it. That's the ultimate goal. As far as things can be taken, as much as can be achieved, this is it. As much honor and glory as can be received, it'll be received with and in this kingdom. This is it. You know how many tears you're going to shed? You stand before Yahweh Shai, and you humble, and you like, man, I think I did well, but then you think about all the things you may have forgotten or overlooked or whatever is playing in your mind. Even in these things that we sit up here and live on our day-to-day lives, oh my goodness, it'd be tough. We go through hell. And it seemed like when it rains, it pours. It seemed like everybody be going through something at the same time. It's a whole bunch of deaths in the family. It's a whole bunch of sicknesses in the family. It's a whole bunch of people that all at the same time, everybody go broke. Everybody, like how 12 people, we all lose a job. God damn. How did it all happen? And through it all, you're just trying your best and doing everything you can to maintain your righteousness and maintain your relationship with the Most High God and maintain and keep your faith and adhere to all the things that have been laid out and given to you. And you finally make it. And you hear that, well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter ye into the joy of my Father. You made it. And then he tells you, not only is he said, I'm going to wipe away your tears, he said, there will be no more death. Not your death, which is already stressful enough. What is it called? I think it's called a hypochondriac, somebody that's overly concerned about their health. Boy, oof. I know a couple of them, every time something happens, they concerned. Oh, I felt a pain in my chest, man. I think I need to go to the hospital. Right. Oh, I felt a tingle in my finger. I think you got to. I got this sharp pain that shot up my leg. I think I need to go. Because it's stressful. You're like, damn, what's happening? We only in these bodies for so long, and we never really get a full understanding of what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. God forbid you Google your symptoms.
Yeah, don't do that.
You be like, man, my big toe hurt when I step off of it. WebMD. Cancer. Right. God damn. And it's stressful because you don't know what to think. And then you got to go to a physician that you hope don't do you more wrong. All this history of racism in medicine, the father of medicine himself conducting experiments on our people as slaves. You hear about all these people that get neglected, all these so-called black women, but ultimately Israelite women that's dying after giving birth because they're viewed as more dramatic. Ain't nothing wrong with him. Ain't nothing wrong with her. They're not going the extra mile to even look into and check your symptoms. You getting misdiagnosed, this, that, and the third. He said the first thing is there will be no more death. You ain't going to have no more sharp pains. You ain't going to have no more illnesses and ailments. You ain't going to have no more life-altering injuries. That's the first thing that you can do. Imagine that. Is the dark scary, or is it the unknown of what could be in here with me? But imagine if you was immortal. What's scary about it now? People scared of the water because you can't swim. Or if you can't swim, you out in the ocean, it's too much water. How far can you really swim at once? You ain't swam no 100 plus miles at any given time. You don't have, who knows if you're going to make it back to the shore. It's terrifying. But how scary will water be if you're immortal? You sink to the bottom and walk your way back up. What's there to be concerned about? You sleep at night, you hear a bump in the night. If you can't die, what is there to be concerned with? Go ahead. I'm sorry, one more thing. On top of the fact that you can't die, your loved ones can't die.
Man.
You done lost children, you done lost parents, siblings, cousins, aunties, uncles, grandparents, even friends. how devastating it is to lose someone you love. He said, but this time nobody's going to die. Not you, not your children, not your friends, not your siblings, not your parents, your aunts, your uncles, not your grandparents. Did I say that one already? There is going to be no more death. Whatever it is that you love and that you cherish that lives in that kingdom is going to live forever with you. And I've even heard people, man, if you could have any superpower in the world, man, what would it be? Well, I would want to be able to live forever. Man, that's the worst power you could have. Then you got to watch everything that you love die. But imagine if it lived with you. That immortality sounded good.
Man.
Go ahead.
And there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying.
Hold on. He said neither sorrow nor crying. You ever had, man, them rough days? You just like, I don't even know what to do. You can't do nothing but just cry sometimes. You see how many of our forefathers went through their moments. They see in Jerusalem burn. They just fell to the ground, ripping their garments open, weeping. Everything that you've come to know as home is gone and ain't coming back. A whole lot, you know how many people it was unaccounted for? Man, where's my boy so-and-so? Man, I lost my son hours ago. It's a war zone out here. I don't even know if he's living or dead. He said, it ain't going to be no more of that. You don't even have to experience sorrow. You ever had a moment you got to just go be by yourself? He said, you ain't even going to have the moments no more. You're not going to ever get sad. You're not going to ever experience heartbreak. Not in your friendships, not in your relationships, not in your marriage. Look at the reward. Sorrow nor crying. Go ahead.
Neither shall there be any more pain.
No more pain. Ailments in your body. Sometimes what you see other people going through pains you deeply. Man, I love them so much. It hurts to see you like this. Hurts to see you down. Hurts to see somebody else that you love broken. When they've been strong for so long and then you see them shed tears. When they've been holding it together, you low-key been, without really saying it, you low-key been looking at them like, damn, you doing it, man. I feel like I can keep going. And then you see that person break down. It's like, oh, man. He said, it ain't going to be no more of that. No more pain, physical, mental, emotional. With that would also come no more sickness, no more illness. You have a perfect bill of health forever. Never have to worry about it. If you want to, I mean, I ain't going to say that one. That's a very specific example. Talking about falling, though. You don't even have to worry about it. Let's just say you was playing hide and go seek. I don't know. It ain't going to tell. It ain't no tell. You got eternity to do things. It's going to be a kingdom that's functioning like, similar to some levels like this world. You might entertain yourself at some point. You got 100,000 grandkids. Hide and go seek, Ultimate Edition. Last one to get found. I don't know what type of prize. I don't know. I can't even imagine what it would be like. But imagine you sitting up here, you running around, you can hear somebody that you chasing, then you fall off a mountain. No danger. That's just something whimsical. That's just something entertaining. But imagine all the times that you didn't have a choice of whether or not it was fun and you had to suffer. Imagine all the times that you involuntarily went through hell. You get hurt on your job. You may or may not get paid, but you still hurt people. Everybody looking at the money. And that's crazy because that just lets you know how bad we got things. When we sit up here and get into a car accident, damn, you about to get paid. Yeah, nigga, on my back. Can't turn my neck to the left, bro. Yeah, I might get some money, but what type of life I'm about to live? I can't extend my knee no more. I got to walk with a cane for the rest of my life. That was involuntary. He said, there ain't going to be no more of that. Go ahead.
For the former things are passed away.
He said, the former things are passed away. Read verse 5.
And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful.
He said, these words are true and faithful. All things are going to be made new, including us. You get a new body. You got a couple stretch marks. You got a blemish. You didn't take care of yourself. He said, you're going to get a whole new body, whole new perks, whole new advantages, whole new everything. It's going to be new. The world is going to be new. Some places, go to Romans 2 and 12. You know how some places just take you back to a negative space? Been through some trauma there. You remember something unpleasant. He said, man, that place ain't even going to be there. It's going to be a whole new world. And the last thing is, as far as knowing you an Israelite, there's a reality to all this. Read 2 and 12.
This is Romans chapter 2 and verse 12. For as many as have sinned without the law shall also perish without the law.
Hold on. He said, whether you like it or not, our forefathers entered into an agreement with the Most High God. And whether you believe, you don't believe, you try, you don't try, you want it, you don't want it, you're going to be judged by the law. This is the standard. This is what it's going to be regardless. No matter how much we may, I'm telling you, it's out of our control. And you know what's crazy? And this is my last point, and I'm going to wrap it up. Something that I realized, Christ talks about a woman in travail. He compares a lot of things that we experience, the plagues like a woman in travail, the end of the world like a woman in travail. And it's crazy because, and I know it was recently in the Tribal Society album by Tiziah Wan that helped me piece it together. I can't remember exactly what he said, but we always look at the frequency of the pains. We look at the discomfort. Oh my God, it's going to be. But also, guess what? Whether a woman wants to have that baby or not, the baby coming.
Right.
She could be like, man, I can't wait to get pregnant. She get pregnant. She having, she doing her whatever with her husband. It's all exciting. You get to hold that pregnancy belly and you get all the glory, right? You get your gifts and your congratulations and your celebrations and your baby shower. And then the day comes, that water hit the flow. Ready or not, the baby's coming. You're about to go through something. You cannot go back and say, oh my gosh, you know what? I remember the moment that so-and-so was conceived. I'm going to go back to that moment. Ain't no changing what's happened.
There's no quitting.
Ain't no quitting. Ain't no, I don't want to do this anymore. Ain't no, I got the fun. I can't handle it. It's going to happen.
It's no uncle. It's no mercy.
Right.
None of that.
Hey, congratulations. You're about to be a mother.
Right.
And he said the same thing is with these plagues and with judgment. Whether you want it, you wish, you would. I should have, could have. He said, if you live without the law, read that from the top.
Romans chapter 2 and verse 12.
Uh-huh.
For as many as have sinned without the law shall also perish without law.
Was that all the 12?
And as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law.
Whether you want to accept the Bible or not, you should get acquainted. Because this is the standard that you're going to be judged based off of. Whether you get to have all these benefits or whether you get to eternal torment. We can't even fathom how long forever is because hardly nothing on this earth lasts. You get something nice, it be done broke. Somebody stole it. You get something taken from you. Relationships end, divorces, death. All these things take things from us all the time. It's hard to even be able to comprehend eternal anything, good or bad. But the reality is there will be an eternal kingdom and there will be an eternal torment. Ain't going to be no escape. Ain't going to be no I learned my lesson. Ain't going to be no let me out. That's it forever. Not a year, not 1,000 years, not 10,000 years, not 100,000 years, not 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years. And then he said forever. I would even say until the end of time because there ain't going to be no end of time itself. That'll be it forever. Every bit of advantage we have by knowing that we're Israelites, by being able to apply this law, by being able to serve Yahweh Shai and the Most High God Yahweh truthfully and faithfully, knowing what the standard is, knowing what the expectation is, being able to be prepared, but also knowing the reward.
Let me get 13.
Come on.
This is verse 13. Verse 13. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified.
He said, not because you heard, not because you knew, but because you did. That's the only thing that's going to help you be justified. That's the only thing that's going to save you.
Okay.
All praise to Israel. We appreciate you tuning in with us. I am going to manually hit the switch. We appreciate all the support. Like, share, and subscribe with your family. And be encouraged, family. We're getting towards the end of time itself. All right. Oh, yeah, I just said I wasn't going to say that. We're getting towards the end of this kingdom. Shalom.
Shalom.